In the last 3.5 years, I've been reading between 1 to 2 books every week consistently, and nothing has impacted my life more than reading. And today, I'm going to share with you 8 simple tips that are going to help you read more than you ever did before. So let's get started. Tip number 1, the 2 minutes rule. Okay, so the 2 minutes rule is one of my favorite tips, and that's why it's the first one. It's probably the 2 minutes rule that you know from before, the one that says that if you have a task that's going to take less than 2 minutes, then you should do it right now and not postpone it, because this task is probably going to haunt you until you finish with it. For example, putting away the cup of coffee you just drank. Or in my case, 2, sometimes even 3. Anyways, these small tasks clutter your mental space and sometimes even your physical space. Now, what about bigger tasks like reading a book, for example? How can we apply the 2 minutes rule to them? I mean, just thinking about reading a whole book can make you feel so exhausted. I mean, even looking at this makes me feel... Oof. Well, I'll put it aside. So instead of promising yourself that you're going to read the whole book or read a chapter before you go to sleep or even read a page, all you do is commit to 2 minutes every day. Not a page, not half a page, not a chapter, just 2 minutes. So in the morning, before you do anything else, just sit down in your bed, start a timer for 2 minutes and read. These 2 minutes sometimes will be more, sometimes, well, they can't be less because it's 2 minutes, but sometimes you'll read a chapter that you really enjoy, so you might read more than 2 minutes or more than a page. But keep in mind that it's completely fine that if you read just 2 minutes every day, it's more than nothing. Okay, let's move on to tip number 2, skim. Look, reading book is hard, I know, especially non-fiction books, which make you feel like you have to read them word for word, otherwise you will lose something or some knowledge. And that's true that you read to obtain the knowledge of years of research or lifetime lessons or whatever you read in just a few hours. But keep in mind that it's okay to skip or skim parts that you find repetitive or boring. And after reading hundreds of non-fiction books, let me tell you, a lot of them are repetitive. They repeat the same concepts that you know with different stories. And these stories are sometimes interesting, but not really more often than not. So feel free to skim or skip those parts. And if the whole book is boring or repetitive, feel free to skim it until the end or just close the book and find another one. Yeah, sure, you might miss a few things, but books with novel ideas are so rare that once they come out, everybody around tries to copy that idea and put it in their book. So if you'll keep on reading consistently, you'll find this novel idea in another book. Okay, tip number 3, listen. Listening to audiobooks is such an easy way to read more than you ever did before. Look, I can't stress enough the importance of making the best out of your mundane tasks, because sometimes reading is just not possible, like when you do the dishes or you're at the gym, and these moments are where audiobooks really shine. I pay around $7 a month for 2 credits, which are 2 books, and the good thing about it is that you can return a book if you didn't like it. But there's a limit on that. I'm not sure what's the limit, but it's to avoid abuse. And it's a habit that is so easy to develop, and once you integrate it into your life while doing mundane tasks, you will not feel annoyed or lazy to do them again. You'd sometimes even want to do them, but don't tell my girlfriend about it. Moving on to tip number 4, start with anything. Naval Ravikant, a well-known investor, once tweeted, "Read what you love until you love to read." The point is that you need to start somewhere, any book. You need to build up the habit of reading and build up from there. So for example, is there any movie that you really like that is based on a book or a Netflix show? Or perhaps there's a book that you've heard of so many times before that you have to see what all the fuss is about. Go pick them up and start reading. Use them to open the door to reading for you, because once you get going, you will not want to stop. Tip number 5, stop reading. Now, this is something a lot of people struggle with, and I personally used to feel very bad about putting a book down and not finishing it. I wouldn't even move to the next book before I finished the previous one. There is also that fake conception that you need to read all the greatest books like The Popular Investor or Wealth of Nations. Back in the day when I was investing in the stock market, I was even recommended the book Security Analysis by Benjamin Graham. I got to the middle of it and now it's just a stand for my screen. So if you find yourself struggling to read a book, and every night or every morning that you start reading, you just feel so bored after half a page or a page, and then put it aside and feel bad that you can't finish a book, stop. It's not worth your time, and it hurts your confidence that you can read books. Plus, you could be reading something that you truly enjoy instead of wasting your time on something that you don't. So anyways, put it aside. Maybe in the future you'll be more ready for it or you'll want to read it. But for now, just find something else to read. It also applies to books that the New York Times said that they are the best sellers, or some author recommended them. Okay, let's move on to tip number 6, read more. This is something that I figured out quite recently. It started as a joke in my previous video when I said that speed readers tell you to have like 27 books so you can always read what you like and you'll read faster. It's actually true. Sometimes I just don't feel like reading a non-fiction book or that specific book that I read right now. And even if I do, I don't always want to read the same book. Having a few backup books that you can read when you don't want to read the others is a great way to read more. It might sound like I'm skipping track of all the books that you need to read or all the books that you read, but when you understand that you read for the knowledge or to enjoy the book, then it doesn't really matter if you miss something or you don't forget where you were. It also removes unnecessary stress from reading because you are not bound to a specific book. For me, the sweet spot is having 3 categories of reading: a fiction book, a non-fiction book, and a listy book. The fiction books are for times when I'm too tired to soak in new knowledge, the non-fiction books when I'm not too tired, and the listy ones are for my trips to the toilet. Tip number 7, have a backlog. One thing that I found really useful in the beginning of my journey until today was to track what I read and what I want to read. I used to have an app to which I added all the books that I read and the books that I want to read. That way, whenever I looked for a new book, I didn't have to search for recommendations. I just had my to-read list. And looking at how many books I read until now filled me with motivation to read more and to increase the number. And by the way, for those of you who are new here, I recently created a website for that. In the website you can see other people's lists, you can create your own lists, you can have your backlog, your to-read lists, and much more cool features are coming. I will share a link down in the pinned comment below of lists of Ali Abdal and Alex Ramosi. Check it out and let me know what you think. And now for the final tip, read if nothing else is possible. You probably have so much time that you're not doing anything, riding the bus, commuting to work, sitting on the toilet, and other times when you do something, but it's mundane tasks like working out at the gym, doing the dishes, making food, and these times are perfect for reading or listening to books. This tip alone helps me read more than a book a week. Think about it. The average length of a book or an audiobook is between 6 to 7 hours. So if you work out for 3 to 4 times a week, each workout is at least 45 minutes, including going to the gym and going back home. For me personally, I also cook lunch and dinner, another 45 minutes every day. Only with these, I get at least 7.5 hours every week of listening to audiobooks. So see your schedule and see what you're doing that does not require any attention or any thinking, and integrate reading or listening to books into that time. Now you might have heard about speed reading techniques that will help you read faster. I would recommend you watch this video before you start doing any of these techniques. And then watch this one so you can remember everything that you read and not lose one thing. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.